It's toast! Commish.
What's going on, Toast? No
What's
guitar
going on,
solo
brother?
this
How
week.
are you? I know.
A little disappointed.
Sometimes life gets in the way. It is what it is. Sorry it took so long. Welcome back to Plate Coverage. July 1st, almost 4th of July. That's always good news. All-Star games right around the corner. Trade deadline's coming up. Always fun to talk. How are you?
I'm doing good, man. We played yesterday. We went down 9-1 in the fourth inning, vomited all over ourselves, and we came back and won 10-9. So I'm on a nice high right now. I
Wow.
still feel that high coming off of that win yesterday. So I feel good about that. And this is honestly the most excited I've been to record a show. We didn't have a show last week, obviously, but I feel like we got a lot of cool things to talk about. It's a cool time of the year. July 1st, trade deadline coming up. We're into awards season. There's a ton of value on the futures market. I think this is just a really fun time to be a baseball fan. So I'm excited to talk. And I miss you, bro. I miss you after not talking to you last week. So I'm excited.
I know. I know you have a real job with a real academy to run and stuff like that. But it does suck not being able to talk baseball every single day. Last week was like one of my best weeks ever. Not sides and totals were good too, but we were doing group home run bets and we hit like 7 in a row, which like never happens. Like, I mean, it's not skill, and anybody that tells you it's skill is not. It's just pure luck. I mean, there's a little bit of skill of being able to read a line maybe and whatnot, but tiny bit. But to hit, I literally think we hit like 7 out of 9 or something like that. Just absolutely ridiculous. But
yeah,
like I said, it makes it so much better when there's like 8 or 10 people following. You know what I mean? Or even more. Who knows? That might not even say anything. So
for sure.
It was.
I
really
do enjoy
fun.
your videos. I enjoy your videos of do something. Do something. He's doing something. He's doing something.
Yeah. I enjoy it.
that.
I enjoy it. Makes people laugh. So it's really fun. But
I get a kick out of it.
I do want to talk your ear off a little bit and find out some opinions. I mean, we've got obviously we just talked about it. We're going to talk about some futures and stuff. And some of these markets are kind of clear cut, like the AL MVP. It's kind of hard not to talk about Aaron Judge and whatnot, but some of these markets, I think that there is a little bit of value in other things. So where do you want to start? You want to talk about Paul Skenes and then Pittsburgh Pirates and the NL Rookie of the Year situation?
Yeah, why don't we start there? Because I think we could talk about Skenes. We could talk about the Pirates more in a broad context, and then we can dive into the award stuff. But yeah, you want to start on Skenes? What are your thoughts on Paul Skenes at this point? I mean, you could see the Savant chart. He's been absolutely fantastic so far. It's hard to believe this guy's only 22 years old.
Yeah, I mean, Paul Skenes, he's just been absolutely untouchable. I mean, there's a stat that I wrote down. He's the third pitcher with at least 50 strikeouts and fewer than 10 walks in his first 7 career appearances since 1901. He joins Masahiro Tanaka and Jared Jones is the only other 2 to do that. He's thrown 65 pitches at 100 plus miles an hour. Nobody else in the league has a more than 36. That'd be Jose Soriano for those keeping track. Just absolutely dominant. But I will say that I think there is a broader question when it comes to Skenes and the Pirates, and what do they do with him? Does he continue to pitch? I guess that's where I would like for you to come in and talk about a little bit more, because I think that you'd have a little bit more better handle on that with how much he pitched last year in that schedule than what he's going to have to deal with here in the major leagues. So I'm curious, do you think that they shut him down? Does he keep on going full throttle, or what are your thoughts in general on him?
I think it's a really interesting question, and there's not a lot of relevant comparisons. I think the first one that comes to mind, and really the only even semi-responsible comparison, is probably Steven Strasburg back in 2012. And of course, the Nationals that year, they won, I think it was 98 games, and then Strasburg got shut down. There was the big emotional press conference of young kids super pissed that he feels healthy and that they're not letting him go pitching into the postseason. And of course, as fate would have it, the Nationals get bounced in 5 games in the DS. And everyone and their mother's like, hey, man, it would have been nice to have Steven Strasburg pitching one of those games. Could have been on the next round. And then the Nationals don't even get out of the division series, I don't think, again, for 7 years after that. Of course, there was a semi-happy ending with them winning the World Series in 2019. But I think if you look at a Steven Strasburg level talent on a macro scale, the fact that you only got out of the division series once in a span of 7-8 years, I think you can look at Paul Skenes in a similar light of Like, this is a guy at the front of the rotation who you should be like, you want to give him the ball in the postseason game 1 as many times as possible while you have him with your team. The Pirates are 3 games out of a wild card spot right now. And I still don't think Milwaukee's played really well. I don't think Milwaukee's a team where you can sit here and say, like, for sure they've clinched this division and everybody else is just playing for second place or playing for a wild card spot. I think Pittsburgh has some decent players on this team. They have some youth. Obviously, Paul Skenes has started 9 games, yet to leave a game without his team being tied or having the lead at the time he exits. That's unbelievable, especially with how bad Pittsburgh's offense has been at times this year. And he's faced some good opponents in that stretch as well. Pittsburgh is 40-43. I don't think they've played their best baseball yet. Begs the question, though. Paul Skenes has already thrown about 85 innings this year. He threw 122 last year with LSU. So if you think about this from the perspective of, okay, roughly 40 innings is going to get him to where he was last year. So let's just divide 40 by 6. That's roughly 6 or 7 starts. At how much more do you stretch him beyond there? Because again, if you're looking at if you're looking at a legitimate championship window, because I don't think Pittsburgh is in that window this year. I think they're just in a playoffs window. Can we get these guys some experience? They're for sure in that window, but do you risk the health of Paul Skenes, who can? We'll bring back up the Savant chart here. It is so rare that you see a guy with 90% or 90th percentile plus K percentage, walk rate, and the ability to get ground balls. So not only can he throw a by you, not only is he going to pound the zone, but when you do put the ball in play against him, you're putting the ball on the ground a significant portion of the time, which means he's not going to give up a ton of home runs, despite the fact that he allows some hard contact. A lot of that's coming on the ground. Like, this is a franchise cornerstone. I don't know how many pitchers truly in the league right now are legitimately better than Paul Skenes. Like, I think he's in the conversation talent-wise with almost anybody, especially in the National League. So I think it's a very interesting question. I'm a fan of teams going to get it, right? I want Pittsburgh what they can. You got Paul Skenes. I know Jared Jones has regressed a little bit, but they have Jared Jones. That's a formidable 1-2 in a playoff series, especially in the 3-game format or the 5-game format. If you end up in those series to start October, you never know what you're going to have next year. You like to think, if you do the responsible thing, if you limit Skenes innings, if you limit Jones innings this year, that you're going to have these guys for 5-7 years to go try to win multiple championships. But that's just, when guys throw hard. We saw Strider blow his elbow this year. We've seen no shortage of pitchers. Tristan McKenzie was one of the best pitchers in baseball a couple years ago. Just got optioned to AAA because he's pitching through a UCL tear. There's so many examples that we can draw on. I think while these guys are healthy, you do what you can. You go to try to win. I would be moderately aggressive at the trade deadline, bring in some vets, round out the core of this team a little bit, and just see what can happen, man. There's nobody in the National League that I look at and I think, man, this team is 1,000% unbeatable. The Dodgers have flaws. The Braves obviously have flaws. The Phillies, I think, have flaws, even though obviously Zach Wheeler, Aaron Nola, Ranger Suarez, it's a very tough 1-2-3. But I don't think there's a team in the National League that is early 2000s Yankees or, the recent Houston dynasty type of talent level.
Well, everybody's hurt.
Right.
I mean, look at the Dodgers and the Phillies. I mean, they started out so hot. Dodgers are 52-33. The Phillies are 55-29. And the Phillies lose Schwarber and Harper one day against the Marlins in a game. Yeah. And I mean, this is why you love Bryce Harper. He's legging out an infield single in a meaningless top of the ninth or bottom of the ninth inning. You know what I mean? So, baseball's, it's a war of attrition. And that's why I wanted to ask you that question, because Pittsburgh to make the playoffs is plus 600. And once they get into the playoffs, I mean, then you're looking at, okay, so they're in there. Well, what's their number to win the National League, to win a couple playoff series? And they're plus 13,000 to win the National League. I mean, so you put, $20 on there. I mean, you're looking at a, $2,500 payout. And the reason that I say that is because what do you want in the playoffs? You want solid pitching, in which they have when you take a look at Skenes, Jones, and Mitch Keller, who's, I understand Mitch Keller has had his downsides at times, but also has looked really, really good at times. And you assume that if they do end up making it to the playoffs, that all three of those guys are going to be pitching well. And that's why I preface that, because it's like, okay, if you think that Paul Skenes is going to not get shut down and pitch all the way through this, and they're going to try to make a run because, like you said, you can never count on next year. And the Pirates go out and add a bat, even if it doesn't have to be a big, huge name, but add a decent major league bat, even if it's a guy like Tommy Pham. I understand that, and I'm just like throwing a name out there, but I'm just saying like a solid veteran at the top of that lineup. I mean, that could do wonders for a Pirates team. So I just feel like it's kind of crazy to bet him. I mean, I don't think anybody's coming in and betting him right now at rookie of the year at minus 270. But I do think that it's kind of crazy to think that he would be number one. I mean, what Jackson Merrill is doing, and I understand that I'm a Padres fan, but what Jackson Merrill is doing right now, I mean, he should be starting for the center field for the All-Star game. And there's no question about it. He leads center fielders in every single category there is as far as batting goes. And if Paul Skenes does get shut down at that minus 270 and under, you can't touch Jackson Merrill at plus 350. I mean, I got him at plus 7,000, but you got to assume that it's really hard for a pitcher to win this award. So you can probably cross out Shota. You can probably cross out Jared Jones, especially if Paul Skenes is on that list as well. And then it leaves you with guys like Joey Ortiz, Gavin Stone. He's like the one pitcher that maybe I could maybe get behind just because he's been so very good and the Dodgers have needed him. I mean, I know this is crazy to say, but where would the Los Angeles Dodgers would be right now without Gavin Stone? I mean, you know what I mean? Like that. I mean, he has been extremely, extremely good for them. I don't think that Mason Wynn has a chance in hell of winning the award. So, it's just I wish that there was other guys to look at as far as the National League Rookie of the Year goes. But the reason I guess we wanted to bring up Paul Skenes is just the Pirates and the polarizing situation in general that they're in. I know that they talk about trading Bednar all the time and he never goes. But again, I don't know if they keep Chapman or whatever. But I mean, I don't think that. I mean, it
Their
could be a lot
so
worse.
cheap. That's my main concern with them.
Exactly.
But I think you raised some good points. And if you look, I'm not super eager to bet Pittsburgh plus 600 to make the playoffs.
Me neither. I'm just trying to make a point. That's all.
Right. No, but like my reasoning behind that is because I think if Pittsburgh, I think there's a very decent chance, if not a high chance, that they sell some of those pieces, that they shut down Skenes, they might shut down Jared Jones, or we see them limit their innings in some shape or form the rest of the season. But let's not forget how bad Arizona was last year. And you get into a playoff series and Brandon Pfaadt is giving you 6 scoreless or 6 innings of one-run ball. You're telling me you can't get that for a month from a Mitch Keller or a Jared Jones, and especially from a Paul Skenes. And then Arizona's offense was terrible last year, all the way through the end of the regular season. And they just got hot for a month, and they were playing baseball. They had some confidence that, they ran the bases well. They did some of the little things well. But if I'm looking at Pittsburgh, and I'm just looking at rotations here, if you get me into if we assume Pittsburgh is getting into the playoffs, I would take them above Cincinnati in a series. The Giants are not healthy and don't have the pitching. I think their offense is in a relatively similar boat. I would take them over Arizona. Is Chicago selling? Like I'm seeing Nico Horner potentially on the block, Jameson Taillon.
You don't have to worry about the Cubs.
But that's what I'm saying, right? And then the Cardinals, like I know everybody looks at Goldschmidt, Arenado. They got some vets on that team. I'm taking, if you're giving me Skenes, Jones, Mitch Keller in no particular order in a 3-game or a 5-game series, I like their chances. I think at this price,
you also have to assume again,
$20 would win $2,400.
Yeah. My point too is like, okay, let's start here. Rowdy Tellez has been terrible to start the season. Now weather's starting to get a little bit nicer. He's starting to hit the ball a little bit better. I mean, it's just not crazy for them to add, like I said, another bat. Okay, regardless of who it is, and that drops everybody down in the order. Maybe that gets guys like Jack Zawinski a day off or so every once in a while, or maybe a little bit of time in AAA so he can figure things out a little bit more. I mean, like Connor Joe's been really good for them. There's paths. I mean, O'Neal Cruz will continue to get better. I just think that there's definitely, if you're trying to look at guys that aren't teams that aren't the favorite and stuff, the Pirates aren't a crazy look. I know that sounds crazy, but it's really not. I don't think so, at least. No,
and again, and it's a price thing, right? Like we're not sitting here like, go bet $1,000 on the Pirates. But when you look at Milwaukee is plus 1100 to win the National League, and then you have Pittsburgh down here at 120 to 1. And then you go look at the standings here. Yes, Pittsburgh is behind Milwaukee.
And Pittsburgh's not afraid of Milwaukee. I can assure you guys that.
Right. But even if we
They
assume
dominate Freddie Peralta.
like we're just assuming Milwaukee's in the postseason, right? We're also, I think, with some of these prices, just assuming Pittsburgh is going to sell, assuming that teams like St. Louis and the Mets are going to try and buy something and be competitive. The Pirates are.
I think that St. Louis has a chance of giving up their closer. I think they might give away Halsey.
I 1000% agree, and especially let's just look at their upcoming schedule, right? So, like we always talk about this time of year, well, where is this team going to be on July 30th or July 31st? Right. And what, because that forces, from a public perception standpoint, you can't sell if you have a playoff spot. You just can't. You have to either stay put or do something. Pittsburgh coming up, who do they have? St. Louis, the Mets, Milwaukee, the White Sox going into the All-Star break. So there's 3, 7, 10, there's 13 games right there. Let's just assume
that Mets series is going to be huge for that team.
Oh, for sure. But the Mets and the Cardinals, right? Like both of those teams ahead of them in the standings. If you can make a little progress there, if you put yourself firmly in a wild card spot coming out of the All-Star break, let's be honest, Pittsburgh's not sending 8 guys to the All-Star game, right? These guys are going to get a few days off.
Scroll back down really quick. Scroll back down so we can see. Does it say who the starters are for that series? Those series are yet?
Yeah, so they're going to get Skenes, Falter, Keller, and so you're going to get 3 of your top 4.
So that's why that 4-game series against the Mets. Because I mean, hypothetically, if you were to get swept 4 games and then you lose 4 games against that team, and that when you guys are all that close, that kills. But if you have exactly, but now flip side, you have all 3 of your guys going in that series, and on top of that, it doesn't look, and you're avoiding some of their better arms as well. It looks like so. I mean, I guess it's not that bad, but yeah. So that Pittsburgh's a very interesting team. I know that they're terrible. I know that they look terrible, and that offense is dreadful. But I'm telling you guys, it's not that crazy. I at least at the price wise. I'm not, again, we're not saying drop what you're doing to go bet the Pirates, but if you're looking at teams that you can possibly hedge off, or you're just trying to build your portfolio a little bit, I don't feel like the Tigers are a crazy team.
I agree. And again, just to round out this conversation, we can move on. I know we spent almost 20 minutes on the Pirates, but 6 games against St. Louis. They get 3 against Arizona, 4 against the Mets, all before the All-Star break. Who are they running after? They're running after St. Louis. They're running after the Mets. They're running after the Diamondbacks. So it's all in front of them. Mm-hmm. If Pittsburgh has a good 30 days, right, and again they have the All-Star break,
which goes back to your point. Okay, there's 6 or 7 more starts for Skenes. That's going to get us essentially through that Diamondback series. Now what do we do? Because we're going to be, let's just say, okay, we're in a wild card spot. I mean, there's no. Do you shut the kid down? I mean, I don't know. I don't know.
Well, if you're selling, but if you're selling, then why would you even entertain continuing to pitch him at that point? Because if you're selling, you're not trying to go to the postseason. At that point, all you're doing is racking up innings. And typically with a young pitcher, like, oh, he could use the experience, he could use the reps. Fuck that. Look at what he's done so far. Paul Skenes has proven that he belongs at this level. So I think this is one of the more intriguing decisions I think we've seen in baseball really since Strasburg in 2012.
I was just about to say, so you say you want to be a GM, huh? Because these are the type of decisions you're going to have to make. And that could affect your franchise for years to come.
Yeah. And it can affect future jobs. You know, if you make the wrong decision with a generational type like Paul Skenes, and let's say Paul Skenes, God forbid, does get hurt, or especially if you push Paul Skenes, he gets hurt and then you don't make the playoffs, there's really no coming back from that from a career perspective. And all of these things they're factors on some level that get weighted into decisions like this. So Pittsburgh, I know it's the Pittsburgh Pirates. I know nobody cares about the Pittsburgh Pirates. This is going to be a very interesting team to follow for the next 3 or 4 weeks.
100%. I agree.
All right, well, let's move on. So we got what about the AL Rookie of the Year, and then we'll move on to the meteor markets after that.
Okay, so for me, I'll just go really quickly, just because I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on it, because I think it's kind of hard. I wouldn't bet Luis Gil. I think I've talked about it. You've talked about it. Sauce has talked about it. regression is coming. It's already started to come. Also, it's just really hard for a pitcher in general to win these types of awards. If I had to, a gun to my head, if I had to make a pick, if I had $20, it would be Heston Kjerstad, just because of that high number at plus 5,000. Maybe it's just because he just hit a home run prop for me, but he's also homered in a couple games since coming up. I think that him and Kauser are kind of like fighting for playing time and whatnot. So if he were to get on a roll, he'd really get moving.
And Austin Hayes looks like he's out of the picture potentially.
Yeah, so I think that you're going to see both of those guys start getting a lot of playing time. That number is probably there for a reason, but we've seen Colton Cowser have his dips. Let's see if Kjerstad has his dips as well. Because if he doesn't, and if he just stays on an upward trajectory, maybe he's the guy that's plus 500 in a couple weeks, and it's the other way around. You know what I mean? So, but besides that, I don't know. I think there's a lot of guys that are just, I mean, they're good ball players, but do you really want to? I mean, Spencer Horowitz, Cedane Rafaela, David Hamilton, are those guys you really want in your portfolio? I know I don't. Abreu's been really good too, but again, it's plus 450. It's just nothing's juicy enough for me. I think you had to bet it at the beginning of the year and not bet it at all. Your thoughts?
I'm not betting. I'm not betting the favorite here.
I'm not doing it. I'm not.
There's just the regression's incoming. If you want to bet him in a month, I think you're still going to get close to the same price. I think the really interesting thing with this award is the fact that Wyatt Langford just hit for the cycle, right? So everyone's like, "Oh my God, we counted him out too soon, and now he's back to plus 420." Langford's only played 60 games. Kauser has played the most games out of anybody at 80. Mason Miller, really tough for him to win this award just because he's a reliever on a bad team.
Yeah, it's just not gonna
Abreu, I just don't see it. He just doesn't have done it. He hasn't done anything spectacular. Cedane Rafaela, he's been spectacular at times, but he's just a very young, unpolished player at this point, which is fine. He's young. But Heston, man, like 120-1. He's only played 13 games, so he doesn't have a lot of counting stats at this point. But we've seen guys in the past come up and just light the league on fire. You know, Rhys Hoskins comes to mind, his rookie season. Trey Turner, like we've seen guys come up and really light the league on fire and put their name in those types of conversations. Sometimes those guys don't win awards because they're going up against guys who have played 160 games. That's not the case this year because pitchers, they're only going to throw so many innings, right? That's can always be used against them when you're comparing them to a position player, which is why pitchers don't win MVPs very often. Langford's been hurt, had a bad start to the year. Kauser, like who knows what his role is going to look like going forward. I mean, he's having a fine year. I think he's got a lot of potential. Plus 500, like maybe I take a stab on him. Not betting Mason Miller, not betting Abreu, not betting Rafaela. At that point, why not bet Heston? Like you said, if you have $20, do you want to try to turn that into $30, bet on the favorite, or do you want to throw that on a lottery ticket? And again, like we're talking about Pittsburgh 120-1. We're talking about Kjerstad 120-1. These things are not all going to happen. But if you're taking 120-1 chances every so often and being smart about the amount of money that you're risking, you don't have to hit them that often. You almost never have to hit them. And that could be maybe not life-changing money, depends, I guess, how much you're betting. But that could be some nice pocket change just for taking a stab. And this is a very volatile market. Like I'll pull it up again. There's nobody, like I don't care what the odds say. None of these guys are locks, right? We've seen pitchers going back to velocity again. A pitcher
100%.
could be gone overnight. Miller, Hill, like any of these guys could be gone overnight.
And any of these guys could get injured too. On top of that, I mean,
there's 12 weeks of the
especially
season
them
left.
being on top of the injury concern. Not that it's I shouldn't say a concern, but injury possibility is that any of these guys can go on cold streaks too. I mean, they're young. I mean, and that's going to change the odds dramatically as well. So, sitting here today, it's a little bit harder. Maybe it becomes a little bit more clearer in a couple weeks when these Baltimore guys start playing more and whatnot, and we'll have a better idea. Maybe one of the guys from Boston, maybe, but.
Yeah, I think my final advice on this is I don't think there's any need to rush. I think if you want to take a step on a lottery ticket, do that now. But if you want to bet Wyatt Langford a month from now, maybe he's plus 250. I would rather personally bet Langford at plus 250 after I see a couple of weeks of solid production than bet him at plus 420 just because he hit for the cycle yesterday. This is the wrong time to buy Wyatt Langford, in my
I
opinion.
agree.
So,
I agree. I agree.
okay. Well, what about the juicier markets? American League MVP Aaron Judge is unbelievable. Is he your MVP hands down, or can someone contend for that award?
100. Yeah, I don't see how you can make an argument for anybody else. If you can, I guess I'd love to hear it. I know that you can't, but I'd love to hear it because what he's doing right now is just, it's just unreal. I'm looking at the list trying to find somebody else that could maybe possibly do something, but it's just really hard for me to see anything else. So I don't know about you. I'm obviously not going to bet it now, but at the same time, it's really, really impressive what Aaron Judge is doing right now.
Yeah, Aaron Judge. I won a lot of money a couple years ago. I bet Aaron Judge. I think it was plus 400 or plus 500 the year he hit 61 home runs, or was it 62 home runs that he hit? I bet him late April, early May, a couple different times to win the MVP. So I'm a big Aaron Judge fan. This past offseason, I actually bet him. I bet him to hit under 49 and a half home runs. It closed at over under 41 and a half home runs. This dude is having an unbelievable season at this point. I mean, he's a 100 percentile across the board in pretty much everything. I was going to make a joke about his base running on the Savant page on the show today, but then if you watch the Blue Jays series over the weekend, he actually had a phenomenal decision on the bases where he kept his team out of a double play there was one out. I think it was guys on first and second or first and third, and he started walking backwards, and then Soto was able. It was a play that Soto hurt his hand on. He was able to come around and score. He's just got a good baseball IQ. He's a really good teammate. We saw what happened with Stroman the other day. He's just a very likable guy. He's in the biggest media market in the entire country. There's so many reasons to think Aaron Judge wins this award. Gunnar Henderson's having a great season as well. He doesn't have 31 home runs. He doesn't have 62. What does he have? 60 something RB. Where's his RBI? I don't think it is on this chart, but he's got 60 something RBIs at this point. His OPS is just out of this world. I mean, Aaron Judge barreling more baseballs than anybody in the league. And all of this is after he got off to an atrocious start. I mean, Aaron Judge is just.
Dude, listen to this. I got a stat for you for Aaron Judge, okay? Yeah. In Aaron Judge's last 50 games, his slash line 398, 507, 932 with a 1.439 OPS. That's the highest OPS over a 50 game span in a season by a right-handed hitter ever in Major League Baseball. It is absolutely unreal. I mean, you can literally take any stat you wanted and say that Aaron Judge is doing it all. So, yeah, I just wanted to throw that in there just because a little context, because he's been just incredible. Absolutely incredible.
Yeah. So he had 62 home runs in 2022. His OPS is actually higher right now. His batting average is higher than it was that season. He's on pace for roughly 60 home runs again. It's absolutely insane what this guy is able to do at the plate.
If you guys like WRC plus, Aaron Judge, 277 WRC plus in the month of June with 11 home runs. In the month of May, 14 home runs, 274 WRC plus. I mean, it's like MLB The Show numbers. It's just incredible what he's able to do. It's absolutely incredible. So
Aaron Judge to win AL MVP. He's getting to the point, even like Shohei Ohtani got hurt. And even at that point, everybody was like, yeah, but he's already earned the award, even taking the last month of the season off. Aaron Judge is getting to that point. Like there's always the injury, the risk, right?
Right.
Especially in the outfield, especially at his size, being 6'7", 280 some pounds. But I mean, really, how many more home runs does he have to hit? How many more good weeks of baseball does he have to produce before you're like, it's a wrap? Like whether he plays another game this season or not, it's a wrap. So I know you said you're not betting it at minus 220. I'm probably not either, but I'm not going to lie. Like, I still think that's a pretty good price considering it's really him and Gunnar Henderson. I don't think you can make a case for anybody else to even come close to winning this award.
Yeah, I couldn't. I couldn't make a case. I'm sorry. I couldn't make a case for anybody else to make the award. No.
Yeah. Like Soto's not the best player on his own team. He's been hurt. Bobby Wood Jr., he's great, but he's not having anywhere near the season that Judge is having. J-Ram's been phenomenal, but like these shit. Steven Kwan is 6th right now. There's no fucking chance Steven Kwan is winning the MVP. It's Aaron Judge or it's Gunnar Henderson, and it's almost for sure going to be Aaron Judge, unless he gets hurt and Gunnar Henderson has a remarkable second half of the season. So I still think if you get it like minus 250, I still think that's a very good price on Aaron Judge.
Yeah, I agree too. 100%. What about the National League? What are your thoughts in general over there in the National League?
Okay, so hear me out. I might sound a little bit crazy right here.
We always do.
Shohei Ohtani has been unfreaking believable, especially for a guy coming off of Tommy John surgery, playing with the new team. He had the whole media circus around the gambling situation. He was being stolen, whatever happened with that, it's in the rearview mirror. But for him to just go out and produce at the level he's produced, especially losing Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman was awful to start the season, and Ohtani has just been the stalwart in a really, really good lineup for LA. Ohtani's been remarkable. That being said, Shohei Ohtani is not pitching this year, and he is not playing the field. It would be historic for Shohei Ohtani to win the National League MVP this year. We've seen some DHs over the years have some phenomenal seasons and have that held against them. Minus 230, absolutely not with Shohei Ohtani. Freddie Freeman plus 750. I'm not really willing to get on board with that. I think Freddie Freeman is one of those guys where, especially if Mookie comes back and he starts producing, and it's Ohtani, Freeman, Betts, I think that's a conversation where maybe some things get held against Freddie Freeman. Harper is hurt right now.
Yeah, I was just about to, just really quickly. I mean, it's just, I hope nobody that's watching this as like a Dodgers fan like sees me shake my head to Freddie Freeman or hear him talk about Freddie Freeman, and that's making it seem like he doesn't like. It's just really hard to bet a guy at 700 isn't like a great number. Not when you have a guy like Shohei who's a 230 favorite, and before he got hurt, Mookie was ahead of him as well.
Yeah.
So you're really essentially asking the voters to vote for like the third best guy on his team, which I understand that that third best guy is still better than most other guys in the league. It's just really hard to assume that's going to happen. That's all.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to touch that. It has nothing to do with Freddie Freeman, the actual ball player. It's just the logistics of the award, I guess.
Yeah, and there's people that are going to argue, is he the best player on his team? And I think,
right.
I the discourse around Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, I don't know how you can have a conversation about Freddie Freeman winning an MVP when at different points this year, everyone thought Mookie Betts was the best player in baseball. I still do, by the way. Or you think Shohei Ohtani is the best player in baseball. How are we justifying giving the award to Freddie Freeman? So no thanks with him. Harper's hurt. Marcelo Zuna, there's no chance Major League Baseball is giving this guy any individual accolades with his background. Ketel Marte's having a great season. I don't see it. He's not having like an Aaron Judge type season. He's not having a season like Freeman or Ohtani. So I'm not there with him. Francisco Lindor is the one name that's really intriguing to me because, again, for Tatis would be intriguing, but he's hurt. Francisco Lindor at this price, and again, it's about the price, is intriguing to me for a couple of reasons. Number one, he's Francisco Lindor. And even being on a bad team last year, was a top 10 finisher in the MVP voting. You look at where the Mets are this season, they're 40-41 through the halfway point. We know this team is not going to be in full sell mode at any point. I know Pete Alonso may get traded because of the contract situation, but Pete Alonso is someone that the Mets could retain if they wanted to retain him. And again, that's remains to be seen the next 30 days what they do with him. But if we look at the Mets schedule here, they get 4 against Washington, 4 against Pittsburgh, 3 against Washington, 3 against the Rockies to end the first half. I know we just had some good things to say about Pittsburgh, but again, we also said that's a series for Pittsburgh where if they go down, if they lose 3 out of 4, they get swept. Pittsburgh is selling, right? So that's an important series for the Mets as well. If they have a good series there, and let's just assume they take care of business against the Nationals and the Rockies, 2 teams that I think they're definitely better than. Okay, let's see what they have before the trade deadline coming out of the All-Star break. They get Miami, only a couple against the Yankees. They get the Braves, who are kind of reeling. And at that point, you're in that final series against the Twins. There's a lot of winnable games. And then if you're the front office, you get the Angels and the Rockies right after the break. Oakland, Miami is there. Like, you have a lot of winnable games in August as well. The Mets are 2 years removed from being a team where it was World Series or bust. They're in a big media market, just like Aaron Judge is. New York guys, in my opinion, always have a chance. If the numbers are there, they always have a chance. Lindor plays a premium position on the diamond. So if there is any ambiguity about if it's Freddie Freeman or Francisco Lindor, there's going to be a lot of arguments to be made about, well, Lindor plays shortstop. That's just inherently a much more valuable position than Freddie Freeman. You're going to look at the base running. You're going to look at him switch hitting. You're going to look at the leadership in the clubhouse. All of these things you're going to look at and say, Francisco Lindor is at least in the conversation for this award if he stays healthy. I think he's got a lot of opportunities to beat up on some weak pitching in the near future. I think at a minimum, this is a price that I wouldn't be surprised to see him at 15-1, 18-1 in a couple of weeks. That's where my money would go. I'm not betting Ohtani. I'm not betting any of the other guys that we mentioned at the top of the odds here in the National League. It's either a no bet or, again, if someone's giving me $20, I'm betting it on Francisco Lindor here. What about you?
Yeah. Okay. Well, first of all, I 100% agree with Lindor. He's been top 10 MVP voting his last couple of years as well. So if I'm not mistaken, I think he was 9th the last couple of years. So it's not like he's out of the question. And people already know, obviously with him being a Met definitely helps people knowing who he is.
Yeah.
I can't argue with anything like that. Ozuna is out for me, obviously. I just don't see that happening with his past either. With Harper being hurt, I mean, could I get behind Tatis being hurt as well? Could you, I guess, maybe try to convince me with Ellie De La Cruz? If you were to say, well, I think he's going to steal 100 bags and the Reds are going to make the playoffs and yada, yada, yada. If all of that happened, maybe there's a chance. But again, I don't even at plus, I would want like plus 7,000 or more probably for a guy like Ellie. I mean, he's really, really fun to watch, but there also are some things in his game that I think are going to take away from MVP voters as well. The only other guy on that list that would even like make sense to me is William Contreras, just because he's been so good for so long. This year from start to finish. So I think that, plus 6,500 is a little high on him, but at the same time, I don't know. I mean, it's still a catcher. Injuries, you never really know with them. It's really hard for a catcher to win that award as well. So again, I think it's Shohei's to lose. I bet Shohei, I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, the day Mookie got hurt, I bet Shohei at plus money. I think it was like plus 115, plus 120 or something like that. So to see him at minus 230, I think that the books are pretty much telling you that it's Shohei's to lose. But again, I wouldn't be surprised if somebody else won it. I can see with the gambling stuff and him just playing DH. And what if the Dodgers, I don't know, what if the Dodgers falter a little bit and they're only a wild card team or something like that? I don't know. I mean, it's not that crazy to think. I mean, if they have another injury or something like that, especially to the pitching staff. I mean, we said earlier in this episode, where would the Dodgers be without Gavin Stone? I mean, No one came into here thinking that would be the case. So again, I think that there's avenues to a couple other players, but as far as right now is concerned, it's Shohei or anything. It's Shohei or pass.
Let us know. I think this is one of the more interesting debates from a future standpoint. So let us know in the comments if there's somebody that we're not giving enough respect to, or if it is Shohei. Like if we're just wasting our time talking about all these other guys, and you think absolutely it's Shohei Ohtani, and we can move on to 2025.
I think that I think it's probably wasting our breath a little bit.
We'll see, man. We'll see.
So,
I think it's going to be really interesting to see if there's any voter.
God forbid he gets hurt. That would suck.
Well, and even if he stays healthy, I really wonder.
I agree too.
When we get to August, we get to September. At Major League Baseball, always want every league. They want conversations around these awards, right? They want Jokic and Embiid. Like if you're an NBA fan, for years, right? Jokic, obviously the MVP. Every year they make up some argument. Well, what if we didn't pick Jokic because of this? Or because of this, or because of this.
Yeah.
So maybe there's some voter fatigue. Maybe there's some voters who,
I will give you that.
Stuff, whatever.
I do think that's real, regardless if anybody wants to give credence to it or not. It has to. It's just if we're humans voting for awards, that has to play a little bit of role. I mean,
even last year, look at Acuna last year. Yep. Acuna got all 31st place votes, but there was a weekend where the Dodgers played the Braves. And the Mookie was on a surge at that point, and Mookie actually became the odds-on favorite for a brief moment. Acuna, I think, had a big home run against the Dodgers that weekend.
Yeah, he
and then,
hit
of
it
course,
like 500 feet straight to center field.
Yeah,
He's in.
but again, like that award should have. And I'm the biggest Mookie Betts fan in the world. That award last year was always Ronald Acuna's to win.
100%.
The fact that Betts came into that conversation, I thought was asinine. And again, love Mookie Betts. I will die on any Mookie Betts hill you want me to, but Acuna had a historic season by a number standpoint. Baseball has always been a traditionalist. Like we emphasize numbers, especially with the awards. We like to immortalize thing like with Judge hitting 62 home runs. Ohtani could have done whatever the heck he wanted to that year. Judge hitting 62 home runs. You have to give the guy the MVP because you want people to remember that stuff. That's just how baseball's always been. And I think the way baseball still is, and we still have a lot of the older heads who vote on these awards, who influence the conversation.
Yeah.
So it's just, in my opinion, it'll be interesting to see. We get to August, September, if people start pointing out, yeah, but Ohtani has not played the field this year. Ohtani hasn't done this. Ohtani. So we'll see. That's all I'm saying. I would feel a lot better about betting Judge minus 270 than Ohtani minus 230.
I think that the gambling part's going to play an issue as well. Whether it matters or not, I don't know, but there will be people that talk about it because that's just what people do. So
we'll see.
Regardless of what has happened, and that, regardless of what the FBI and all that stuff has said, there's still going to be people that just don't believe it or think it's a conspiracy or whatever they think.
And these are a PR awards sometimes too. Like people forget that.
Yeah.
The year LeBron went to Miami, I mean, everybody, myself included, I live in Cleveland. I was pissed at LeBron that year, but everybody was pissed with how egotistical he was. He went on ESPN, made this big hour-long decision episode. It was crazy. For the kids. Everybody held that against him. LeBron should have been the MVP that year. Like you look in hindsight, and you're like, man, like we really might have changed LeBron's. Not that you're ever going to be able to detract too much from LeBron's legacy, but you add another MVP to that. Those Jordan conversations become a lot more legitimate, I think. But that was a year where like everybody just collectively decided, hey, we're not going to vote for LeBron, right? Because of this. Is that going to be a case for a guy like Ohtani this year?
Yep, I definitely agree. I'll be very curious to see how it all plays out. Like I said, hopefully he stays healthy and stuff like that. And we can worry about the PR wars when they come.
That'll be our August 1st episode or September 1st
right
at that point. But what about the pitchers? We got the American League, we got the National League. I'll let you decide where we take this conversation next.
I think the American League is, the better conversation. I don't want to say better conversation. I just think that you can probably, I can get to a long shot in the American League a little bit easier than I can in the National League. I'll elaborate. I don't think that Tariq Skubal, I understand that he's pitched very well. I just don't know if he's going to win this award. I don't know if he's going to stay at this pace. I also think that the Tigers are starting to start to falter. That's going to play against him. Corbin Burns is another guy that I think that I think in my head, he's probably the favorite right now. If I had to pick one guy, regardless of odds, and who would be the favorite, I think that would be Corbin Burns. I think that he plays on a very good team. He's pitched very well this year. I think that he would be the favorite. I think that Garrett Crochet is probably going to get traded. So you can probably cross him off the list. That's probably going to negate some of his votes. I don't worry about Tanner Houck. I don't worry about Seth Lugo. I definitely don't worry about Luis Castillo, which kind of brings you to Logan Gilbert and Cole Reagans. I don't worry about either. Gilbert and Flaherty, Flaherty's putting up jaw-dropping numbers, but I don't think that, especially K-wise and stuff, but I don't know if I think that it lasts. Logan Gilbert, I don't even think he's the best pitcher on his team. I think that if you're going to bet a Mariner, it would have to be George Kirby. I think we talked about this pre-show as well. But besides that, I think that if you're looking at this FanDuel list, tell me how Tanner Bybee is plus 12,000 to win this award. I mean, Tanner Bybee is on a team in Cleveland that's leading their division. And Tanner Bybee is pitching his ass off right now. I just don't understand that price. with him. I understand it's a big jump, but if he continues to pitch the way he does, and let's just say that Cleveland rolls through that Central and they end up, cruising to the Central Division title, and he's been their best pitcher so far, how is he not in the conversation for AL Cy Young? I mean, am I crazy there? And I know that you're a Guardians fan, so maybe I am crazy, but
I think a little bit. I think what I've learned betting this market, and as someone who bet Zach Eflin last year 200-1 preseason, what I've learned with this market is it fucking hurts, bro. If someone asked me what is my best bet of all time, I still say that Zach Eflin bet. I bet he was literally
lost, but it's his best bet of all time.
It's my best bet of all time. 200-1 preseason.
I know.
And this guy was without a doubt a top 4 pitcher in the American League. And I think he was probably, almost for sure deserving of
he should have been. He wasn't in the conversation, and he definitely should have been.
And I will say, I had $54 on Eflin at 200-1, and I had 50 on Garrett Cole at plus 600. So it was okay because Cole won the award, but even though Cole won the award and I made a decent amount of money on that, I still think Eflin was the better bet. 200-1, and the guy had the season that he had last year. But all of that is to say, my point with all of that is, as much as I would like to talk myself into a Tanner Bibee, even like a Taj Bradley who's been throwing the pill really well as of late, I think what's going to happen here is, like, you have your established guys. Corbin Burnes is a safe pick. No one's going to laugh at you if you vote for Corbin Burnes to win the American League Cy Young. His innings are going to be up. He's on a good team. There's a lot of reasons to bet Corbin Burnes. I'm with you on Tariq Skubal. I think he's peaked. I think he had a phenomenal second half of last year. He's been really, really good all season so far. I just worry about guys who are so good early because they set their own standards too high, where Corbin Burnes had a few clunkers. So he's kind of human. And now if he goes on a nice run, it's like, oh man, like Corbin Burnes really coming out of nowhere. It doesn't always make sense, but I agree with you. I think Corbin Burnes, if you're looking at some of the favorites here, that would be the guy that I would want to invest in. Garrett Crochet we learned today he's almost for sure going to get traded. If he goes to the National League, he actually cannot win the American League Cy Young Award. So no chance I'm betting him. Right. Logan Gilbert, I'm with you. Not the best pitcher on the Mariners. I'd much rather have George Kirby at 3,500. Houck, it's just tough. I love the Red Sox. I'm pretty big on the Red Sox to make the playoffs, but you pitch at Fenway, it's tough. Seth Lugo, I think, is another guy. He's having a great year, but I think he's peaked. I think he's he has, the home away splits worry me. Cole Reagan's not worried about. Flaherty doesn't look 100% healthy, so I'm not going to talk myself into that. Castillo, I just don't think is very good. I know I've belabored that point, especially on Sauce's, so I won't. Sauce is show, so I won't, beat a dead horse there. But I really think Corbin Burnes, then it's their FanDuel odds, obviously, plus 240. I think Kirby at 3,500. And I know you're going to want to shoot me, but I think Pablo Lopez is one of those guys that his whip is still low. He's got a ton of strikeouts. He's going to have a lot of innings. If Pablo Lopez goes on one of those second half runs that we've, like Jake Arrieta the one year where the dude just didn't give up a run for 2 months. Pablo Lopez has great stuff, but the first half of the season, he just kept throwing fastballs down the middle. He hasn't done that the last 2 starts. I'm not telling you to bet Pablo Lopez at 5,500, but in order, I would bet Burnes, Kirby, Pablo Lopez at these current prices.
I'm going to let it go.
Don't say it. I'm
going to let it go.
That's enough.
I'm going to let it go.
That's enough.
I understand what you're seeing. Like, he has, so many people talk about he has the perfect pitcher's body because he's all tall and lengthy and stuff like that. But some guy, I don't know, man. I want to see. I'm very curious to see. The Twins are one of those teams I'm really curious to see how everything plays out with them as well, because at times they can look really, really good. I personally think that they aren't as good as what they look like. I think that they are very good against bad teams. But at the same time, if he were to pitch well, if Royce Lewis stays healthy, but we make all those assumptions, but now Royce Lewis hasn't had a hit in 2 weeks or something like that. It hasn't. I mean, again, you're not going to, Royce Lewis wasn't going to hit home runs like that at all times. I don't think that Pablo Lopez is going to be as bad as he has been at all times. So it's finding that happy medium of where these guys are going to end up or how it plays out. So, and there's different determining factors and with all that stuff too. So that's why we just kind of have fun with it. I mean, you never really know.
And again, you look at he's thrown 94 innings. The expected stats all look very good. So like his ERA right now is 4.88. That's grotesque, right? No one's going to bet on anyone with a 4.88 ERA to win the award. But the Twins don't have a super difficult schedule the rest of the year. If he can have a few more starts like he's just had against a couple of bad teams in the last couple of weeks, I'm just saying 55-1. This is a guy who, even after the first couple of weeks when he was struggling, his defense has let him down at times. There's been some different things that have happened. The market continued to respect him at like 16-1, 18-1 for a very long time. I'm just saying, crazier things have happened. I like Kirby significantly more, but like if you're really pushing me for a long shot, it's a drug I can't quit. I'm going to go back to Pablo Lopez.
Yeah. Enjoy that drug. Crack kills. Just remember that.
It will.
It feels good at first. So
I'm going to get replaced on this show by the end of the season because Sauce is going to tell me that I've been. I can only keep going back to Pablo Lopez
addiction. He could never return.
He didn't get help. We tried to get him help. We tried to check him into some really good facilities.
You know what would be really funny though is if I ever went to one of your games and I would like hold up a sign that would be like, "This is the guy that told you to bet Pablo Lopez." I don't want to yell. I'm not going to yell. I'm just going to hold the sign.
I want so badly for him to just go on like a Jake Arrieta run. So every Wednesday or Thursday when I get on that show, I'm just going, how'd Pablo do yesterday?
Dude, sometimes I think that show has a curse because there'll be times when like I'll think that a pitcher is in just a great spot and I'll call him a bet on pitcher, or I'll use some crazy analogy that half the people love or half the people hate, and then they just get absolutely annihilated, and then the next 3 starts they're untouchable, and it's just like, but of course the one time that I pointed him out on the show and went to bat, you know what I mean, it's just like that's when they perform the worst. So yeah, sometimes I think that show has a little bit of a curse sometimes. If you get too ahead of yourself, the show will bring you back down real fast.
Yeah, especially the comments. I'll let you know when you have a bad day, which I appreciate, man. It's like playing in New York or Philly, right?
I love the comments, but like today, like we were in the Discord and somebody said the Mets pitching change happened and Scott was pitching today and David Peterson isn't very good. So I didn't even think of it as anything crazy. And somebody was like, "Is there a pitching change?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And then there never was a pitching change. And I'm like, this is what I get for taking somebody else's word for something. Like, Nats up 2-0. Oh, by the way, James Wood, CJ Abrams, former Padre, hit parlay. Cash it, baby. Let's go, Friars.
And we're out on that note, guys. No.
So,
for my own mental health.
Anyway, is there anything else you wanted to add? I think that we've pretty much hit everything.
Let's just touch NL Cy Young and then let's get out.
Oh, that's right. That's right. NL Cy Young. I forget about that one because this one's like really hard. I forgot about that.
It is hard. I think there's a lot of I think we just went to the American League and we crossed a lot of guys out. The National League is a spot where I feel like there's a lot of guys who you can argue still have a chance, right? Like Zach Wheeler, obviously, Chris Sale, like all these guys at the top, other than Ranger Suarez, I think he's the only guy that I would for sure roll out from this top 5.
Yeah.
Christopher Sanchez, I don't think is the craziest thing in the world.
Dude, I don't either. That's one, I said I was going to say Michael King too, just, and I'll go into that because I know I'm a Padres hater, but that's another one that I really like. Dude doesn't give up home runs at all. Lanky lefty. Yeah. I at 7,000 or what's his number on FanDuel? I know you have it up on FanDuel.
4,500. There's other prices that are better, but
okay,
I think
his
biggest impediment.
Yeah. And also when you're doing this, guys, line shop, especially if you have FanDuel, just even if you only have FanDuel DK, I mean, some of these lines, depending on which book you use, are going to be different. So just make sure you take a look at both of them.
For sure. We're just using the visual.
I know. I just want to make sure that people were aware. But regardless, Ronaldo Lopez is another guy that kind of intrigues me. You can definitely poke holes. He was a reliever. We don't know how he's always going to last. Chris Sale's on his team, all that stuff. But he's been dominant, and he's been dominant for a long time. And something that just resonates with me a little bit. I've just never really been a Max Fried guy. And I think that Chris Sale does have some injury history, and I have to see him finish a full season before I could even consider him. I would never bet Chris Sale to win an award just because of the injury history. But yeah, Lopez is one of those guys that Again, I know that I'm the resident Braves hater around here, but he's been spectacular for them. So it's really hard for me to think of all those other guys like Sonny Gray, hell no. Logan Webb, hell no. Green, hell no. Dylan Cease, hell no. Mackenzie Gore, hell no. Mitch Keller, hell no. I say Michael King and the only reason I say that is because I think that he has been probably the Padres' most consistent pitcher. He's definitely had his couple of blow-ups, but I think he's been the one starter that you could probably trust. I guess especially as a Padres fan. Dylan Cease looked good for a while, and then it looked really bad for a while. And I think that if you would assume that the Padres were to, let's just say that the Padres make the playoffs, for that to happen, he would have to pitch. You would assume that he pitches extremely well in the second half. So you'd have him being the best pitcher on the Padres that made the playoffs, maybe unexpectedly, however you want to look at it. But again, I'm looking at the perspective of it being at 20-1 or whatever that big number is that it's attached to his name. I'm not trying to make a case that he's the favorite, but if you're trying to find ways that can get guys that can get there, I would definitely take a look at him over somebody else. Like I said, Dylan Cease on his team. So I don't think that Christopher Sanchez is crazy either. That name hadn't even ran through my mind, but as soon as you said that, I got goosebumps a little bit. So that's, again, these are long shots, but that's not too crazy at all. Especially with, it's, again, I'm not asking you specifically, but like, do you expect Ranger Suarez to pitch how he's pitched so far this season the rest of the way? I don't.
No, I would rather have Christopher Sanchez at 4,500 than
yes.
Let me preface this with: we never, ever, ever root for anyone to get hurt, whether we have money that could benefit from it or not. But if Zach Wheeler were to get hurt, and we've seen him have some scares in the past, and again, just guys who throw hard, and especially just pitchers in general, there's always the injury risk, right?
Yeah, just look at the injury list; it's pretty clear.
And I think I think you're insane for Michael King, but I think your logic at plus 200.
They said that about Robbie Ray a couple of years ago, brother.
I didn't say that, but Rob, you can never count out a guy with pants that tight who can still pitch, but. But anyway, all I'm saying is I think your logic is sound in the sense that to win the award, it sounds stupid, but you have to be the best pitcher on your team, which obviously, right? Because you have to be the best pitcher in the entire National League to win this award. But you have to be the best pitcher on your team. And I think that gets back to what we're talking about with Ohtani and Freeman and Betts. Even if you have a really strong opinion, even if I think it's Mookie Betts, there's a valid arguments that I would disagree with, but there's valid arguments for Ohtani is the best player on that team. Right. Freeman was the most productive player on that team. So that makes those conversations tougher. If Zach Wheeler were to get hurt, God forbid, at that point, is Ranger Suarez the better guy or is it Christopher Sanchez? And again, it gets back to the conversation we had about Tariq Skubal of Suarez peaked so soon that he set his standards up here. He had a bad day the other day. I saw everybody shitting on him. This guy stinks. This guy sucks. Nobody likes him anymore because they're like, oh, he's
it was
human.
The Marlins, and they haven't hit a lefty.
No, I know, but that's my point. Is like, but another guy could have a bad start, and you're like, oh, okay. Like Glasnow could give up 4 runs later this week, and you're like, okay, but like that's still Tyler Glasnow. But Suarez has a bad start, and you're like, I knew this guy sucked, right? He was terrible.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I don't want plus 700 on Ranger Suarez. Christopher Sanchez, though, plus 4,500. That guy has shit the bed a few times this year. He's only has room to go up, and you're seeing that as of late. His stock is rising. I agree. So I think if there's someone that could benefit from an injury, it's Tyler Glasnow. I'll pull the odds back up too, just so people can see this. I think you have Tyler Glasnow. As long as he stays healthy, is going to be a finalist. And I think
I think if you get gun to my head, I had to pick one guy that I actually think could win it. Forget the odds, it'd be Glasnow.
Yeah. So I think we're aligned there. That would be that's my guy who I'm like this. He's for sure going to be a finalist if healthy. And I like the price at plus 600 because there's just there's more of a margin. Like as good as Zach Wheeler has been, he's still a pitcher. And again, it gets back to what we're saying about someone's going to force a conversation. If I don't know if the Phillies play the Dodgers in August or September, but they're going to force a conversation, right? Is it Glasnow? Is it Wheeler? And if Glasnow outpitches Wheeler, probably unfairly, Glasnow's going to jump ahead the same way we had the Acuna, the Betts debate last year. I think you could see a similar thing. Chris Sale, I just can't get behind with the injury history. I would love for him to win the award. I think he's a great dude. I
Yeah,
think he's a competitor.
exactly.
I just don't like the price there. But I'm with you. Glass now is my top 3 pick if I'm looking at a guy who's, closer to the top of this board. But Christopher Sanchez, I would not talk anybody out of Christopher Sanchez. And
What about my Lopez take? Am I crazy?
your with
Ronaldo
Lopez.
Lopez?
I think it's another situation where like you have Sale,
let me
Fried,
throw this out
Lopez.
there. Let me throw this out there. Forget Fried and Sale. Do you think that he's going to continue to be able to pitch the way he has the rest of the year? I guess that's because that's the question with him. So I guess I'll give you that question really quickly.
I don't see any reason to expect imminent regression. My concern with him is you would probably need both Chris Sale and Max Fried to get hurt for Reynaldo Lopez to enter the conversation because I think just by virtue of name recognition of brand over time,
I get
Chris
that.
Sale and Max Fried, if you're sitting there and you're like, who's better? I think it's a safer pick. Like if you look back 5 years from now, and I know this is a stupid thing to say out loud, but if you're a voter and you have to think about these things, if you look back and you're like, oh, I voted for Max Fried or I voted for Chris Sale, you're never gonna have a regret about that. You're never gonna be able to be made fun of about that. But especially in the age where like nothing dies on the internet, if you make if Ken Rosenthal writes a 3,000-word piece about why Reynaldo Lopez deserves a Cy Young and this and that, and then next year the guy's got a 4.5 ERA, hurts your reputation a little bit. And Rosenthal's built enough credit, but there's other guys in the space that don't have 15, 20, 25 years of journalism experience. And they take people off of these committees, right? They add new people to vote on these things. They take votes away. I think Reynaldo Lopez is just a little bit too risky for my taste, especially with his teammates up in the conversation, which is why like Glass now, clear-cut best pitcher on his team, especially in this market. I think there's a lot of reasons to like him at the price right now.
And at 600, that's not even like a bad number, to be honest. So, I mean, yeah. So anytime you're getting 5 or 1 to more on your money, I mean, $20 to win, or $20 to win 100 or 120 or whatever the number is, you know what I mean? Like, you could be doing a lot worse, I guess.
Like, look at, like, he's been good. He's been very good. His ERA is a little high, but a sub-1 whip. If he just has a little better defense behind him, if he has a couple of good starts in a row and he could get that ERA down to a flat 3 or a sub-3, there's no chance a guy like this should be.
I also think that I thought I heard him talking about that he was dealing with some blister issues and stuff as well, and he was able to get through that. So you assume that, let's just say that he puts those blister issues behind you. You could make an argument that maybe he even pitches better coming out in the second half. If he, you know what I'm saying? Obviously, it's kind of hard to pitch better than what he has, but I'm just saying, like, he made it seem like he wasn't even at 100% yet. So again, it is what it is. But
yeah. I'm just saying, you got Zach Wheeler. Does this look all that different from a guy who's plus 600 and Wheeler's plus 200? That's all I'm saying. His ERA is sub 3. The whip is nearly identical. Both guys have a lot of innings. Both guys have a lot of strikeouts. So all I'm saying is one of these guys is plus 200. One of these guys is plus 600.
I also like the fact that it's like East Coast, West Coast.
Yeah.
Couple aces, just the drama. I'm a drama guy.
Before we get out, if you have any closing thoughts, but I'm curious. Yeah, so they play each other August 5th, 6th, and 7th. That's the only time they face each other in the second half. So maybe we're not going to get the big build up, the big intrigue with like a September, potentially like Glasnow versus Wheeler showdown type of thing. But I don't know, man. I can't ignore. I like hate myself that I haven't bet this yet. I know he was plus 900 a couple of weeks ago. I just keep looking at Tyler Glasnow. I'm like, why is he plus 600? I get Sale has been phenomenal. I get that Wheeler has been really good. I think I might bet this as soon as we get off the show. I think I've procrastinated long enough on Tyler Glasnow.
No closing thoughts really for me. I guess just going forward, I'd like to see just really quickly where Quan ends up. How close? I don't think he's going to hit 400, but how close does he actually get to 400? Yeah, that's it. I mean, I think the National League race our playoff race is going to be crazy intriguing. So I think that's going to be fun to watch. And yeah, and just really quickly, my guy, shout out David Fry. If you don't know him, take a look him up. Just killing it right now.
He's giving Cleveland a lot of love on this show.
I know. I just thought of that because I was like, damn, it makes it seem like I'm like kissing Commish's ass or something. Like it's not planned. It's really not. But
okay.
They've been really impressive. Except for this last series against Kansas City. But besides that, they've been really impressive. So yeah. I mean, David Fry, the first player to record 15 appearances at catcher, first base, and the outfield in the same season since his manager, Stephen Voigt, back in 2015. I mean, when you got a guy that's literally playing like 5 or 6 positions, I think that's just pretty damn special. So, and what he's doing at the plate is phenomenal as well. So, just a couple quick shout outs.
I love it. I don't have anything. I miss Mookie Betts, man.
And the Blue Jays suck. There's that.
Oh, the Blue Jays are off.
I mean,
but you already knew that. You already knew that.
Gets really bad. I know, but I didn't bet them today or anything. But that loss did. Oh my God! On Canada Day, whew, they looked terrible.
They had no runs into the ninth
inning. But yeah, so
yeah. But you if you've been listening to the show, you've known for about 3 months that the Blue Jays suck. So
yeah, it's so crazy.
Vlad's swinging it a little bit though.
Yeah, and then he got hurt, and then he's not in the lineup today. So
yeah.
Anyhow.
Anyway, we appreciate you guys listening. Only other thing, I think a bunch of people last episode mentioned the music on this, and they didn't want that. Always feedback, right? Like Kyle's gonna try some stuff as a producer. Some stuff you might like, some stuff you might not like. Where we might do some segments. You might like some, you might not like some. It's a new show. It's a first year show. We really appreciate everybody listening. We really value the audience, and we want to give you good information, hopefully actionable information, hopefully stuff that you can go talk about with your friends that makes watching baseball more fun. So we always value feedback. We always value questions. Like, you're never going to offend us. Well,
yeah.
At least I don't think you're not the type to get offended. I know I'm not the type to get offended. So say whatever you want in the comments.
I'm going to say I'm the one. No. Yeah. We see a lot of comments, or at least my wife does too, a lot every single day. So it's all good. I think the music was just, I think that it was more of a habit thing for him. I think because he puts the music on all of the shows and stuff. But regardless, yeah, if you guys, anything you guys have to say, positive, negative, question, comments, concerns, it's always welcome. We're just trying to get better every day doing this stuff. So, yeah, it's fun though. I will say that it's really fun. So
it is fun. Well, it was great to see you, Toast.
Thank you. I will, we will be back next week, Monday or so. I guess we haven't officially scheduled that. We probably should have done that, but we will be back. I will be in Seattle over the weekend, so probably more like Tuesday or Wednesday. We'll do a show depending on what your schedule is. But yeah,
we always shoot for Monday. Sometimes life gets in the way. We do Tuesday or Wednesday, but we try to stick to Monday as much as we can.
Yeah, so we will try. So if that's it, yeah, I hope you guys all have a great week. And like I said, if you guys have a team that we missed, or you got our player that we missed, or what have you, there's definitely a couple conversations where we didn't have much as far as guys. So if we're missing somebody, let us know. I'd love to hear about it. So yeah. Anyway, have a good night, guys.
Awesome. Enjoy the 4th. See everyone.